Ron Helmbolt,
Here.
Thad Taylor,
Here.
Lee Trucks,
Yes.
Catherine Kenny. Present. Angie Quinn,
Here.
Dennis Otto.
Okay, you have an agenda before you. Can we have an approval of the agenda, or if there's any additions?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda's approved. This time, anyone who has a conflict of interest may declare their conflict of interest. Hearing nothing, we'll go on to approval of minutes. You have been sent the minutes of the last meeting of November 1st. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Minutes are approved. If this time, if there are any public who wants to make a comment on something that's not on the agenda or agenda-related items. Okay, new business, Ken Cooper.
You guys don't mess around. It's like one of our board meetings. Am I supposed to go here? And I just wondered. What I'm here for is we're applying for, I gave you all a copy of the recent newsletter, and if anybody's interested, I brought the book. Now, what the book is what I've been going around, like how I got some of the money I got from Blarney Castle and everything for the roof project. Some of you realize we've gotten into a situation where we finally need something that we can't afford to do ourselves. The old Kirk, does anybody here not know what the old Kirk is and what we do? The Old Kirk Museum is the oldest Danish Lutheran church in America. It's located at 304 Walnut Street. It's outside, technically outside the historic district, but it's a significant building, and for several reasons. It's on the National Register. It's also on the state register, but we're also the oldest, we're a year older than you are. The city of Manistee was incorporated in 1869, and we were there in 1868. So the building's seen everything that has happened in Manistee. It has been a museum since 1970, but through to, I'd say age. By 2017, they'd stopped doing anything. They stopped doing much in the community around 2010. And Doug Jensen was the president for all the time it was a museum, and when he was 91 years old, they sent out a newsletter that said we're either going to tear it down or we're going to sell it. And since it's a 501c3 and it had government things, that would creates all kinds of problems. If you saw a site plan, the building's like 60 by 40 and the lot is like 52 by 67. And I don't know why the city ever let them bust it off from the parsonage and the school, but that's beyond my thing. So anyway, Ruth and I went to a meeting that was called, and we were the only two that attended the meeting, and the board was sitting just like you, and they said, we're going to tear it down unless we can find somebody to take it over. They went just like that. So in August of 2017, we formed a new board. The list of what we've done is unbelievable. We built an exhibition hall downstairs where there'd been a dirt basement. We rewired the facility. We have heating and cooling, temperature controlled. We rebuilt the front doors. The list kind of goes on. I got a lot of fame over the years by painting it from various precarious positions, hanging on to things 75 feet off the ground. We did anything we could do for example. But the important thing we do is every summer we have a speaker series in July and August. Every Thursday we have a speaker series at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we brought people in from all over. You don't have that list there, but it's in the book if somebody's interested. Bill Anderson spoke there like 3 or 4 times. He's one of our letters of support. But we need a new roof. And it's critical. Last year I had somebody come in, we had to do a repair. And we've got a good estimate on the roof. We put out bids, and we've got the guy, Phil Landis, who for years was Bob's Roofing. He was the one that worked on the roof in the 90s. So he's familiar with the steeple and everything. So we've got a $40,000. It was $33,600 for this year, but since we have to get some money. He said add 20% for next year, so we're looking for $40,000. We've already raised almost 18,000. We raised 10 before we kicked off. We have a grant request in from the Manistee County Foundation. I don't know what we'll get from them, but we are applying for 2 state grants coming up. Applications have to, I think one, we filed a rough draft. Howard Schaefer is writing the grants. And so, but in both of the state grants, they wanted a letter of support from you, from the Historic District Commission. And so, my wife, being what she is, Ruth Cooper, those of you that know her, has written a draft that I'm going to submit to you guys. And then what we need from you is, if the board approves this, we can't go forward on either one of these grants without a recommendation from your group. But if you do support us, it can be in this form, it can be in support that's similar to this. We'd like it on your stationery head if you had it, and it would be nice to have it by like, about no later than January the 5th, because we have to submit our application on that one. I think it's February the 5th. So I'll just give you an example of what we're talking about here, and then you can decide. This is the rough drafts, well, the draft she wrote. The Old Kirk Museum is a historical museum located in the oldest Danish Lutheran church in America, 1868, and it is a significant example of 19th century vernacular architecture. Though the Old Kirk is not located in Manistee's historic district, it is itself on both the state and national historic registers, and the historic society that owns and operates it has made it a leader in providing cultural tourism in Manistee. It presents free programming for adults and children alike, and partners with other nonprofits in our community to stage ongoing events and presentations that highlights Manistee's unique history. For these reasons, we enthusiastically support the Certified Local Government Grant Program application by the Old Kirk Museum / Our Savior's Historical Society. Sincerely, and then whatever, and then it's the Manistee Historical. It's something in the nature of that, and it's kind of funny because Mark is here, and he's one of our letters of support also from the Manistee County Historical Museum. And so I think that if anybody had any questions, I think that now some of the other programs we have, I don't want to take a lot of time. You have a short agenda, you can get out of here. Some of the other programs that we refer to besides the public presentations of the talks, last year we initiated a program, which we will continue this year, that we brought all the 3rd graders from Manistee Public Schools down. Gary Scory, former director of the Midland Museum, gave a logging presentation on the history of logging in Manistee based on the maps and logging dioramas which are located in our facility, and gave an hour-long presentation, or well, they're squirmers, they're 3rd grade. So when I say an hour long, we're being a little generous there. Those of you who realize 3rd graders, maybe let's make it 30 minutes at the most. But, and then they all left with a white pine seedling and a little tractor, and they went home and planted their seedlings, and they did that. So we have that. We also do concerts. We've partnered 3 times with West Shore Community College. We had an artist from Chicago come up and do a presentation where she did an installation. We had banners on the building twice now, which was part of the biennial sculpture nationwide thing that we did just recently. And I think that Mark is there, and I don't know, you're going to start using us more now. Mark, for the first time, came over, and we offered our facility as a place for him to do his talks because we're air conditioned and he doesn't have to carry chairs from the Elks. And he finally came over and used it one time, and I think they've already scheduled another date for another talk in April. So we're partnering with them. We also, some of you may have noticed, and we'll take credit for this, we instigated when Ruth, my wife, ran the Ramsdale in the 90s. Some of you were here and might remember that during the summertime we had 8 historic buildings that were open every Saturday through the summer. When Ruth left the Ramsdale in the middle of the 90s, for some reason that fell aside, and those buildings were no longer open. This last year we called a meeting and we got 7 historic buildings together, and we had 2 days open over the 4th of July. Next Saturday there's going to be 7 buildings open, and the big one, of course, you can imagine who they are. There's the firehouse, there's the museum, there's the Old Kirk Museum, there's the Episcopal Church, there's the Congregational Church, there's the Ramsdale Theater. But of course the big catch, because in the days the they would not, the Catholics would never allow their buildings to be open for that kind of open house. But now, thankfully, since Guardian Angels is also doing a lot of the things that we're trying to do, or that we're doing, they're on the list now also. So we're the ones that put that consortium together, and we've already scheduled a date over next July, 4th weekend, that we will be open. Now, the way to look at this is that little building out there is a funnel. You know, I think it's real cool that we're the oldest Danish Lutheran country in the country. I think that that's pretty cool. But the thing that's significant about that building is that you guys can go to the Ramsdale and you can go to the Congregational Church and you can go to the Episcopal Church and you walk in there and they're all beautiful. Go to Guardian Angels. Guardian Angels and the Congregational Church and the Episcopal Church, the cornerstones were all laid in 1888. We were there for 20 years before they laid those cornerstones. And those churches were built by all the names that you read about. Sands, Buckley, Douglas. They made a lot of money. They made a lot of money. Our little church is the only public gathering place that's left that was made by the fellows that work for them. Our little church was built by the guys who worked in the shingle mills, cut the trees down in the woods. And there are other public places that some of those people might have been in, but they're either churches or privately owned. So when people come into our place and they sit in the pew that one of those people sat in, it's their one chance to do that in Manistee. They can go to a lot of places where a lot of rich people sat. But they can, and people know that. When they come in, there's a feeling in that little building. Well, anyway, that being said, I'll give this to Lee, and I hope that you'll vote to support us so we can go on, because without a roof, it won't be there. That's it. And we are small, no running water. We're not handicap accessible because it's, we're working on that. We have a plan for upstairs, but downstairs really is a problem, because if you come to visit us, which I hope you guys will, we're open every Saturday. Bring your grandkids. We're going to be there, and we've got Tiny Townsend trains this year, so the electric trains are running, Tom Gerhardt stuff, some of it's up at the museum. But the thing that's funny about our handicap accessible deal, we figured out a way to get into the upstairs eventually if we got the money. But downstairs, when that church was built, it was built flat on the ground. And at some point, between 1868 and like 1885, they jacked that building up, and all that stone that you see around the bottom that makes the foundation, which of course they've got all over River Street, which always surprised me because that stone is not from here. You know, that's ballast from the boat stone. We don't have any stone like that around Manistee. But somewhere along the line, when they put that foundation under there, which gave us a basement, there's no footing under that. When we put the floor in, we were putting the concrete in, I helped work with Jack Berkowitz, so when I went over to the side, I took my hand like this because there was a little place, and I went like that, my hand came right up on the outside, and those stones are just stacked right on the ground. So we haven't figured out a way to cut into that foundation to bring an elevator in, because we don't know where those stones would go if they weren't all together. You know, okay, that's it.
You need a structural engineer.
Well, no, because I mean, we're okay. We're doing okay. I think we make a contribution, and I hope that you'll vote to support us. Thanks for the time, and I wish you all the best of holidays.
Thank
Do I
you.
sit here now, or do I get out of here?
It's up
up
to
to you.
you. Thank you.
Well, that was one of the best presentations that we've had to the board. You can come and give us one every month, Ken. I have a sort of a warm feeling from that because, you know, my Swedish Lutheran grandparents were born about 1868 and came to the United States about 20 years later. So they never came to Manistee and went to that church, but I know who those people are that built that church, you know. I understand that. Do we have any discussion that's involved?
Well, I think a lot of the attraction to Manistee is its history, and I really appreciate the fact that you've done all of this. I don't think we're going to have any trouble being of assistance to you.
Thank you.
Well, the trouble we have is we have no budget.
Yeah.
We're not asking for money.
Yeah.
I'll furnish the paper.
Most of us are independently wealthy, you know, so.
Yeah, I know that feeling. You know.
I'm sure Ken had something that we could do with this red envelope that was put
The
out.
reason that you got the red envelope is that I wanted you to have a copy of the newsletter, and my wife took all the leftover newsletters after we sent them and put them together that way, so anytime she handed one out, they had an envelope. I did not
Good
mean for
idea.
you to-
Great idea.
Yes.
She's brilliant.
Hammer and I and Cleve.
All right, do
kinds
we
of guys
have-
Gone to that.
Do we have action the board would like to take? Anybody?
I have a question first, if that's okay.
Angie?
Do you know what materials you're going to use for the roof yet?
Oh, sure, yeah, we've had a couple of bids, and we've got, Phil Landis did the roof that's on there in the 90s. And so what happened was, is that when we went, for our grant application, we have drone footage of the roof. We have pictures of where we have a very bad corner, which has been repaired, which is starting to come apart again. But you know, it will be, it's basically just a shingle roof. And what happened, where the problem is the bell tower, of course. And we're not going to replace the bell tower with shakes, because that's what's on there. And the reason we're not gonna do that, but I think you can put shingles on there that look just like them. And the reason we're not gonna do that is because, when I was up there, some of you might have seen the pictures of me up there. Squirrels or something have eaten holes in the shakes. And when I was up there, they're perfect little holes about like this. And when I was up there, the ones that are on all the top surfaces, I took pieces of steel and shoved in between the shakes. But there were holes on the bottom. I mean, there were holes here and holes here under the eave. And if you took a pair of binoculars and went, you'd see that there's still holes under the eave. And the reason there is because in my logic, I didn't have any water running into the church. And I had holes in the roof. So I patched the holes on the top side, but I'd rather have the water run out those holes that are in the bottom of the eaves than to start to come back into the church. So I did what I thought was logical, and the reason we're not doing anything else, steel would be like 4 times. I mean, it's cost prohibitive. I mean, steel would be, so we're doing a 40-year asphalt shingle just like you put on a regular building, you know. And now, why the cost? Since you brought this up, you're gonna get the whole shot. $40,000 might seem like a lot, but there's 2 layers of asphalt shingles and a layer of shakes that have to come off before they can start putting the sheeting on to put the new roof on. And I'm not gonna be at all surprised if they come in, if they get up there and it's gonna be more money. But that's why, do any of you know Phil Landis, used to own Bob's Roofing? Well, I mean, he's a pretty honorable guy. And so, I mean, he has been for us. And I have the oldest commercial roof that Bob's Roofing ever put on a building is on my house in Norwalk. And Packaging Corporation had one that was that old. It's over 30 years old. And they put it on in 1985. And Packaging Corporation had one that was the same age, but 2 years ago they re-roofed that building. But mine's still going strong because I coat it every 3-4 years. And I keep it in good shape.
All right. Follow-up question.
Yeah.
Or maybe a comment is best. So if you're applying for state funds, because you're on the national and state register, my guess is that your project is kind of probably be reviewed in terms of historic appropriateness.
Right.
So they probably wouldn't be real pleased with the steel idea anyway, so it's good that you guys aren't thinking about
Well,
it.
no, you can get steel. I could get steel that would look more like the shakes than the asphalt.
So they're probably going to want you to do a historically character, appropriate thing. So it sounds like what you're doing is fine. I guess throw enough wiggle room in that application so that if they ask you to change the materials to something that may be more or less expensive, you can still do it. It's just advice. Okay.
Well, I mean, I have no idea because we don't know what they're going to ask us to do until we submit the grant. And we can't submit the grant without your letter. So it's like we're putting one question in front of them.
Yes,
It is
yes,
possible you could contact them.
Well, we're in contact with them right now. The first one that
Get
we're
a
applying for
pre-review.
is a draft.
Mhm,
And
yes.
your letter goes in with the draft. They review the draft and then they will send back if they have
Okay.
questions about what we're doing. So in theory, if there's any question relative to what you're talking about, materials or how we're gonna go about doing it, we also have to deal with the city because we also have to have, the city has to be an agency that's going to, for the state funds. So we have to meet with the city manager and we have to have the city council pass a resolution that they're going to, help administer the money when it comes from whoever these. So we're just getting off. I mean, you're like one step in this application.
No, just make
But I'm
sure.
gonna tell you something, and I hope you take this the right way. And I guess the best way to say it is, I'm Ken Cooper and I'm standing in front of you, and we're gonna put a roof on that building. And if I don't get the money from somebody else, I'm gonna find the money. Because that's an important historic building, and we're gonna put a roof on it, period. That's all there is to it. How I feel about the process when I get done is something else again. But I mean, we're gonna put, that building's gonna be saved. That building's gonna be saved. And it all matters whether the Manistee County Foundation, the Manistee City Council, and the Manistee, they wanna be part of it, and that's gonna be great. But we're gonna save that building. And I didn't mean that in a kind of negative way. I hope you
I
accept that
believe
in a
you will.
positive way that I'm saying it.
It's often easier, though, to get the funds if
Well,
you do something that works with
We
their
can, it's like
ideas,
we
so.
were talking before earlier, what do you do when you're a guy that pays all your bills? And all of a sudden your car breaks down, and you need to get a car loan. And you go in and you say, well, what's your credit? Who do you owe? I don't know anybody. Well, what do you have? Well, I got 2 houses, one in Manistee, one in Norwalk, and I've got 2 cars, I've got, yeah, but what's your credit? Who do you owe money to? Well, so I'm penalized because of the fact that it seemed to me like I'd be a pretty good risk, but they want to have, knowledge of the fact that you paid your bills in the past. To me, since you own everything, is pretty good. But anyway, I'm coming off kind of strong, and you get kind of, but anyway, we're proud of the building, and we're damn proud of what we've done. And I'm proud of what the people, and I think we make a significant contribution. And I mean, when we brought the bins here, we took it to all the historic buildings, I think they were real happy with that. We want to continue. Now, I also, to be honest with you, I'm 76 years old, and I don't want to be Doug Jensen. So we want to get this roof fixed. I mean, I'm not going to be 91 sitting there and then not being able to do anything anymore. And that's what we're working on now, the demographic. All this stuff you guys are dealing with, what's your problem? Look at who's running all the museums in Manistee County. What's their average age? Look at all the people that are involved in that kind of stuff. How do we get those young people involved?
I won't even answer that one, Ken.
Yeah, tiny towns and trains, our exhibit, those little kids will come in and see that, those 3rd graders come in and see that hovering exhibit, and what's the next thing? My little brother or sister were there when they get to 3rd grade, and this kid's in 6th grade, he's gonna say to him, you're gonna get a chance to go over and you're gonna see those things, and Christmas time's gonna come, all those trains are gonna be running, we gotta do that. We're only doing this is our 2nd year, but I can guarantee you 10 years from now, if we were gonna do a roof. See, I'm thinking that if you say, those tiny towns and trains, Christmas time, I can give $5 for that. They need a roof on that place that, well, we're not quite there yet, because it's only our 2nd year doing it. I don't want to take any more of your time. You don't want to hear any more of this. I'm not very enthusiastic about this.
Lee, you ready for a motion?
Go ahead.
I move we authorize you, Lee, as chairman, to author a letter of support for the Kirk Museum
I
grant
support.
request.
We all support.
Yeah, there's no question, I think.
Yeah. Go ahead, you can support.
Okay, thank you.
It's been moved and supported to submit a letter of support for the roof project for the old Kirk Museum. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Passed. We'll get it to you, Ken.
Thank you so much. On behalf of the museum, I thank you.
All right, old business.
All right, so I have 355 River Street back on for old business. 355 River Street, remember that we had the land use permit, that was for the sun shack. I want to let you know that they're going to be taking down the old sign. The building inspector's going to review the structure, if they need to have a certain building permit or take a look at that, and they're just in the process of all of that. I'll just keep you abreast of when that comes up, where they're at with it. The next I have is 95 Maple Street, which is the library. So I went ahead, because that was part of what you wanted me to look into. There was 2 on here, the historical district permits that you asked me to review. So I went ahead and did the 95 Maple Street certificate of appropriateness. And while I was reviewing that, as you can see up on the screen, they had fixed the steps. And then this bottom one where they had fixed it is now come back off. So I told them that I would, under your advice, if that would be okay if I just kept the permit open and let them fix that bottom step. And then lastly, the other picture that we had is for the house next door, which is right here. and the house next door is gonna be demolished, and we've got the demolition permit. We're only waiting on the electrical, to be cut, I guess, and removed, and then that house next door that the library owns, that will be taken care of too, because the steps were at the one time, you know, breaking and broke down and everything, so,
By next door, you mean to the east?
Yes.
yes. Yep.
If I could just speak, I'm the interim president of the library board.
Oh, okay, great, 'cause I was gonna-
I kind of helped discuss this project when it was first.
Okay,
brought
and I
the
talked to Julie, the assistant, director, and I stopped in and saw her.
Super, yeah, so,
Yes.
so I think in the, the book house next door is coming down probably within the next couple of weeks. Previously, the previous director at the library and Julie met with Katie and Mike Sokola about a year ago in regards to the building and tearing it down, and
Yep.
we were cleared to move forward with that. And then there might be some other issues regarding the building coming up here within the coming year or two. The building itself at the library does need a lot of attention inside and outside. And in the coming, like I said, in the coming year, we'll probably be coming to you to discuss the exterior of the building. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's
Oh,
attention.
no,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
That house in the district?
It is not. The library building itself is, I believe, there were some discussions with Katie and Mike at the time as to whether or not that was actually in the district, and it is not within the district. So the decision was made, of course, by the library board to tear the building down. So,
You know what the library's plan for that space is?
it is hoped at some point in time that possibly, and I'm not going on the definite list here, but possibly a new structure will be built there. But for the time being, that will be used as some green space for the library. There is I don't know if any of you are familiar with the storybook walk that is taped up in all the several of the downtown businesses for children to kind of take a couple pages of the book and go from business to business, storefront to storefront, so they get the whole story. There's also QR codes that are used in that. For the time being, that property will be used for a kind of an outdoor storybook walk. That's kind of what the designs are for. For the time being, there are plans possibly in the future to use that space as an extension of the library. The library is in need, as the years go by, for space. They are completely out of space for people to use for study or computer space, so on and so forth. So that area might be used for a potential secondary building. But that is just an idea. That's nothing that's actually moving forward at this point in time. It's just kind of a hope, and we'll further look at those plans as hopes as time goes on. So hopefully that'll be used for something. So.
all right.
Thank you.
Yes, and the reason I brought up both pictures is because it was part of just the one permit, so wanted to let you know. The next I have is 321 River Street. And I can try to put the picture up here. I mean, it's not a big deal. I'm sure you've been past there. So when I went to review 321 River Street, they had on their permit, it says various maintenance improvements including windows, doors, front and back of building. And so I went ahead and took videos and I took some pictures. Also talked with the building inspector just to make sure everything looked good with him. It was replaced with all of the windows. So both of those then can be closed out permits. So I have those on the list. All right.
I don't think any of those items need any action from us.
No. I know that you had requested me to just look into those and then that they were open, so, yep. But that one definitely with the stairs with the library, obviously with the weather and stuff, I said I would just extend the permit for that one until they could finish it, because it, of course, came apart.
So is this all that's left that's open?
Yes, yep, that is it from the last list.
What happened to, there's a permit open on Oak Street that, I think he had a year to complete the,
That might just be, I apologize. If it's open still from a year ago, then it's not the ones that you guys had asked for or requested last time, so that's why.
okay.
But what is that one? Because I can look into that one and report it for next time.
Oak Street windows that were replaced without a permit and without a certificate of appropriateness.
Okay.
And the commission has been talking with the owner for a couple of years now.
Okay,
He's supposed to have those repairs completed, I think, by the end of the year.
okay,
Did you give them a full year, or was it end of the year? It's one or the other, so it's either
Okay.
very early next spring, yeah. so-
okay. Okay,
I drove by on the way, and nope. there
No,
was-
it's not done. Terrible, looks terrible.
yep, yeah, absolutely. And then when we get to reports, I have a couple other ones that I'd like to talk to, but for old business, those are the ones at this time, and I will report on that one at the next meeting, absolutely. Is there any others that you can think of?
Yeah, I have a question, and maybe this is resolved because I did miss the last meeting. The Outsider, what's that restaurant called? Outsider, right?
Outsider.
The Outsider.
Yep,
At one time, was concerned that the work that was done there and what the product that was actually produced wasn't what was approved by
okay.
either us or other organizations, I think, or like the Planning Commission. I just wonder if that ever got resolved here.
I think that Katie was working on it, and then there was the changeover, and here we are.
Got dropped.
Okay.
At this point, if you could take a look into that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Look at what was submitted and then take a
Correct.
look at what was done, because definitely it's not the same.
Okay, no, absolutely.
I guess having seen it now a few times, just as an observation, it's not permanent. I mean, there's nothing about it that's permanent, and so it doesn't affect the historic structure itself. It's just a thing to be, I guess, as I look at historic structures, that weighs more heavily than what the lawn art looks like, or they're not gnomes, but yeah, it's just an observation.
Looks ugly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, a week ahead of time for the next meeting, if you hear of any, or you see any, or somebody brings it to your attention, call me or give me an email or let me know so then I can get that prepared and put on the agenda, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, that's what I have for old business.
All right, going on, public comments and communications concerning items that are not on the agenda. Correspondence? None?
None.
Actually, question, the National Association of Historic Commissions, or the NAPC or whatever it is,
Okay,
has a training on December 14th. You should have gotten that email.
Okay.
I know I've been getting them since I signed up back this spring.
Right.
But there is one of those training things that we all have to do, a few hours each before the end of the year. I can email it to you, Teresa.
okay, yes,
In
and then
case
I
you
can
can't
give
find
it to
it.
everybody, absolutely. And that also was on one of my reports to ask that I have an email out to Katie to find out, because I need it for my planning commission and my ZBA and for you guys to have training. And I've not found the form that showed for this year, 2023. I have 2022s, but not this year, so, yep. Okay, great.
Okay.
Okay, reports. I don't see the DDA director. Museum director.
I have nothing.
Planning and zoning administrator.
Okay, I want to bring up this. It is for 411 River Street. So what they received was a alteration for commercial but I noticed on the window, it's been expired since 2022, November 2022. And also has the windows on the outside, so that's the building that's just right here. I don't know if I can bring it up. It is from Jeffrey Gordon owns it.
Gordon Rosemaric.
Yes. So he's got 2 windows that are boarded up on the outside. He's got all kinds of work that is happening inside, and you can see that it's current work. So the building inspector and I took a walk over there, took our pictures and everything, and we need to find out why they have an expired permit. And just to make you guys aware of it, that we know the outside with the windows, we need to find out what's going on. So right now, with, that we could find on this remodel, he had nothing in there about windows. So we sent a letter, we've gone out there, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of that we're working on that.
You might want to check with the city attorney. I thought he had gone to court. Didn't they go to court on him and see?
There's a court order on that.
Yeah.
Okay, and I bring these up because I don't know all the back history, so that's why I bring that up. So thank you for that, I will do that.
There's a lot of history of that going back
Well-
13, 14 years.
Okay, well, and so this is how it kind of comes up to me. Somebody will be talking to me, be like, hey, what about that building over there? And that's just, and I find out it's so much more. But in a way, I'm innocent when I'm hearing about that. I'm like, okay, yeah, I will figure this out. And then I get all the pieces, so that way I can tackle it, so.
You'll
yeah.
have a lot of pieces on that.
Yep, so, okay, the training, we discussed that, so we get that. The last one that I have, I got an interesting phone call for 99 Pine. So Betty gave me a call, and Betty said that her parents owned that house at 99 Pine, and let's see. She wanted me to ask if I could bring this up in the Historical District Commission meeting that was today. The Smith family is very interested in finding out what your suggestions could be and any help that they would have with the property. Their home was the first African-American home that was established, purchased in that area. This is the information I'm getting. I don't know if any of it's factual. This is what Betty's telling me, and Betty lives in Grand Rapids, and she's, I think, 88 years old. She would have loved to have come tonight, but not able to attend. With that house, they're debating about keeping the house in their family, putting a new roof on the house. If they put on a new roof on the house, what next? Maybe they should do, keep it, rent it, whatever else. But they have gotten a hold of SHPO and gotten a hold of the state historical, and they want to get a large sign or plaque that's going to go on the property. And for that to happen, they've been filling out paperwork and documentation. And they have also been approached by, and I don't know if this is correct, AMARS or somebody that would like to purchase that to eventually, they'd love to put an apartment building. This is what she's telling me. And she said, you know, should we keep it and keep it with a historical marker? Should we keep it, rent it out, have the historical marker? Or if we sell it, would the historical marker still be able to stay there in that area if the house was removed? So they just kind of wanted some input. I know Mark, come on up, he has talked to Miss Betty several times, but that's all I know.
I haven't really had much in the way of contact with Betty, but I've talked to Ann Dye,
Okay.
who is Betty's sister.
Oh, okay.
I'm unclear as to what Betty was telling you. About 2 years ago, there was a graduate class from Eastern Michigan University came up to study that house and that property.
Okay.
And maybe things have changed and none of us are aware of it, but the last I heard, there was going to be a marker put on the property.
Okay.
And that the house was looking to be used as a museum / artist retreat.
Okay.
And this was all kind of put together, a plan was put together by members of the family. And they were going to, this was what their plan was up until 2 years ago, I believe. So I'm not certain as to, maybe things have changed. I don't know. I spoke with Ann this summer, and as far as I knew, they were moving forward to put have it recognized as a state historic site and put it on the state register, and there was going to be like a sign unveiling sometime. That's the last I heard, but maybe things have changed. So
Right.
So I'm not 100% sure. I did notice that there was a new roof being put on, or an old roof being taken off on
right.
Friday, and I'm assuming
okay.
there was a new roof being put on.
Okay.
If and that movement was going forward with the plan to make it the House Museum / artist retreat. But once
Okay.
again, I'm not sure.
Right.
I agree with the family. It may not look like it in terms of compared to Victorian mansions and so on and so forth. But in terms of its historical significance to the community and to what that house stands for, golly, I think it's got to stay.
It's in the Green Book.
That's absolutely. A lot of famous African American people and not famous African American people that came to this community stayed there, and it was a retreat, so to speak.
Okay.
James Earl Jones, stayed in that house at one point in time. Harlem Globetrotters stayed there when they passed through here and did their shows at the Armory. The list goes on and on. So, my opinion, it's not within the district. It's
Right.
not historical from a exterior point of view, but gosh darn it, I think it's got to stay there.
Right.
My
And
2 cents.
I bring it up again because it does have that history.
Yeah. But that, of course, is up to the family as to what they want to do with that
Right.
property, whether they're moving forward with their initial plans or whether plans have changed. I don't know, but if there was a sign put there, I think it's got to be put there. Plans were.
There was a Mr. and Mrs. Smith Day declared by the city of Manistee.
There was, of course, yes, and I think.
August the 2nd.
And there was some verbiage put together, I think for like a potential sign there at one point in time, but I don't know if that ever came to pass. Angie, you've had your hand up the last minute.
Yes, a few questions. I will have to go and drive by. I'm still
Yeah.
not familiar enough with
Yeah.
the city to know what 99 Pine Street looks like. Even if it's a modest house,
Yeah.
even if it is a worker's cottage,
Yeah.
if it has character-defining features,
Yeah.
there's no reason why it couldn't be
Yeah.
a landmark in its own.
Yep.
It's a little yellow
one-
house when you go down to the bottom of the hill.
I will drive by and take a look. My questions, though, I guess, are multifold. One is, we have a historic district commission ordinance that allows us to have additional historic districts. There's nothing for us to not have another one.
Right.
Right? I think the process is, I guess we find out more from the property owners, would they be interested in that with all of the benefits and all of the zoning overlayments that go on top of it in terms of what they can do to the exterior. But it might make an appropriate single-site historic district, which are common throughout the world. Okay, they're not all big districts with multiple buildings. So that's a possibility. And it could even be national or state register appropriate itself because of the history with it, even if it's got modest architecture. I mean, there are gorgeous worker cottages all through town.
If I guess to get a better idea as to what the family unless their plans have changed, I don't know. It sounds to me like they have, but I am in contact with Ann occasionally. I will
Right.
contact her and report back at the next meeting as to see if their plans have changed or what exactly. They were going through the whole process with, I think they were working very closely with the folks at Eastern Michigan that have the
Okay.
historic preservation.
And I didn't know any of that. And
program.
that's, again, why I brought it up
Yeah,
here, because
completely, yeah.
I need, the history of
need the
this.
backstory,
That's
yeah.
right, that's right.
Yeah.
And she had said they were hoping to do the plaque or the sign maybe next July, but they still are debating on selling it because somebody offered them a lot of money. Like I said, Amos Parking or something. I thought, well,
Okay. Yeah,
I don't know
I
who.
think-
Yeah, so I think they were just very torn, and plus with their age, I
Yeah.
don't know. So I
Yeah.
thought, you know what, best to bring it up.
A local district designation could help to assuage their fears about
Yes.
it getting torn down at some point in the
Yes.
future. So
Yep.
it would be interesting to have further conversation with them, just for that
I'll-
reason alone.
I will reach
Yeah.
out, I'll CC you on it, and
Sure.
we'll see what,
first
we'll see if their plans have changed.
Yes,
Right on the way home.
The first step to take.
yes, sounds good.
Yes.
And she had also said,
Could you give me some contact information? Because I think this might be a project that Manistee Area Racial Justice and Diversity Initiative.
I can do that. I will give
Great.
you,
At.
yeah.
you know Ann Dye?
Not.
You do not, okay.
Mr. or Mrs. Smith, but I do not, I don't know.
You don't know
any of the
their children, okay.
Okay.
I will reach out to her, I will CC you on it and CC Teresa as well, and start the conversation.
Margie meeting and see whether there's any.
The project itself, as far as I understand it, was kind of spearheaded by Ann's daughter, which would be Ray and Anna Mae Smith's granddaughter. She is an architect. I think she was in Rwanda the last I knew of. I mean,
Okay.
she was kind of spearheaded this whole thing and was working with Eastern Michigan and everything. They came here in April of 21. April of 22 to do a study of it. We'll work pretty closely with them at the museum. Anywho, I will start the conversation, and we can get down to the nitty gritty and see if any of the questions, so we can help them out in any
Yes,
possible way.
absolutely.
It's significant.
At this point, I don't think there's any action that the district.
No,
will take
no,
on
not at all.
The fact that if they wanted a letter of support for a project or something like that,
We can have Ken lobby on their behalf too, as
Yeah,
well.
so-
so that'd be
Yes.
great.
that would help.
You don't think, is it occupied? Is it occupied?
I believe the family is there occasionally. I believe that there is a caretaker that they have watching over the place and so on and so forth. But the family does go there several times a year.
Yep.
And
I heard the same thing from Betty.
You know
So,
how old
yep.
the house is? Is it,
What's that?
what era, how old?
The main portion of the house, as the students from Eastern Michigan could find, was established or constructed in about 1868, 1869.
Okay, yep.
It survived the fire.
So it is, yeah.
Yeah, because she had told me 1860, so yep, okay. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you, I appreciate it.
It's amazing that survived the fire.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
extraordinary. Cool.
And then that is all that I have at this time.
All right, member discussion.
Just one item, I'd like to see going forward, if an organization or an individual wants to get on the agenda, if we have some idea of what they're wanting from
Okay. Sure, absolutely.
just a brief summary or.
Okay. Sure, I can place that on the agenda if we have, I guess we're good. Now, that is, I guess, another thing I'd like to bring up. Now, for my planning commission, we have, for the whole next year, figured out we have a different guest speaker that spends 10 to 15 minutes each meeting giving us a presentation. Maybe something about, I have one coming in, remember Madeline Lamb that came in for the sign? I'm having her come to my planning commission, just to kind of give an overall about signs. We've got somebody coming in just to give a overlay of some master plan issues. So every month we have a different speaker. Would that be something of interest to you that I could get creative and see if we could have somebody come in for 15 minutes and talk, maybe every other meeting, or try to get somebody for every meeting? That way too, you can hear what's going on maybe in the other boards or other things, or just give ideas that you'd never thought about. So I don't know if that's a suggestion that we could,
I like that, yeah.
January, I kind of get a list together and then we could talk about that and see who we'd like to invite, and
Budget.
hopefully they just come in for free.
Okay.
Yes, to just talk for 15 minutes, yeah,
We had previously discussed having somebody from SHPO come.
yes, yep. Yep, absolutely. All right,
Is there plans to combine all the old stuff with this new list? So we have one list that lists all of the,
I can do that
Open
for
items.
you, yes. So I was given a list, but I'm actually having to go and just review them for myself, because some got closed out that should not have. And some, the ball was dropped, and I'm not blaming anyone, but the whole transition and a lot of things happening. Yes, so there's several that I need to. That's why I asked you, is there ones that you really want me to look at, review what needs to be done? Give me that suggestion, but I do have the list from our first meeting, and so I can go over that because I'm slowly taking those off the list, so. Yeah,
Seems though we all been going up and down North Washington about 50 times a week.
yeah,
Go past that building that's on the corner at 100 Washington.
okay,
And we got a presentation, and it was the second one since I've been on the commission, about all the stuff that was gonna be done to that building. And it doesn't look like a whole lot. The interior was supposed to be made into an extravagantly modern, up-to-date office facility. I have no idea if that's happened or not.
I can
But-
comment on that for you. The people that made the presentation were applying for a SHPO grant to restore the exterior to the glazed block, and the grant was denied.
Oh, okay.
And the glazed block is very expensive because they don't make it anymore. So the building is up for sale.
That's what I was gonna say. It looks like it's up for sale, so all of what was on the permit apparently is just sort of outgone.
Right.
Really, yeah.
I think that one and the Pacific Hotel building, the one that's down farther north.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
Both of them were recently included with something about reuse. I don't know if they were,
No,
and I
I
can't
think
remember
that was the
the,
Waterworks, the Rainbow Oil Building, and then Hotel Northern, not Ed's building.
No,
Not-
100 Washington Street has not been
100
included in
Got
any
it,
projects with
okay.
the city,
got it, okay, thank you,
unfortunately, and I've asked.
got it. So, but
Okay.
I guess just a reminder, it is in the historic district, so hopefully no one buys and just decides that they need more parking at that corner, so.
It is unfortunate, but that could very possibly happen.
I have a question. Have we gotten anything yet regarding facade changes to 390 River Street? Which is it's the like modern commercial building from like 1960. The new owner had like an article in the newspaper recently saying he was gonna make it more Victorian looking, and at
Oh.
1960 makes
The
it
old
kind
Ronald Gardine building.
Yeah.
even though it's not
Oh.
part of the period of significance for the district, it's reached its own level of, I mean, it's past 50 years old, so it has its own integrity, so.
I reiterate that. I have some comments on Facebook about that same thing, and I read the newspaper article and was waiting to see. I walked by there today and noticed that the awning underneath, there was, I don't know what's going on there.
Looks like they're removing it
wait,
possibly.
wait, yes, I do. 390 River Street,
Right.
I have it right here.
Is
Yes,
that-
we are talking to them because it's kind of a safety hazard, so we said first, you need to give us your plans. We need to talk to you guys for the next meeting. I apologize, I don't know why I missed that. We'd require them to get a demolition permit, but yeah, that needs to all be in stages. They're not doing anything to it yet, correct? They have,
I'm not certain.
oh, okay.
Dumpster there.
They're cleaning out the interior, but they have taken
Okay.
apart part of the awning.
Okay, yeah, because that's what I just went there, was it yesterday or day before, to take the
The owner
pictures.
contacted me,
Okay,
and I actually told him that exactly what he had to do in terms of coming to the historic district.
yes, exactly, and I sent him an
Yeah.
email back, yes, doing that. But I said, first, you need to take a picture, send it to me, tell me what your intent is, and then I will tell you that you need to go in front of the HDC, you need to talk to the building inspector, you're gonna need a demolition permit, and then I gave them all the forms and all the stages and process for all of that, so.
Which building is this, 390 River?
Eames Building.
This is where,
Steve's office.
Oh, yeah, okay.
it was built in the mid-50s for Woolworths, and,
60
Yeah,
on the
I know,
district.
I noticed
thing.
that.
that's wrong, yeah.
55 seems
Yeah.
better, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
Lincoln,
Yeah.
minimal traditional.
But, yeah, I reiterated your comments, yeah, absolutely, so.
Well, and I apologize, this email just came to me yesterday, so I didn't put it on my little list, but yes, I had the information, so. Good, I'm glad that you brought that up. Good.
Cool.
All right, any more board comments?
Move we adjourn?
Support.
Adjourned?
All right, thank you.
You.
Thank you.